Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for making time to join us in talking about integrating and collating your data, making that legwork easy. My name is Jamie Piers. I'm Business Development Director for Synatic. We are an enterprise data and automation tool. So basically what we look after is the ability to move data between solutions easily and the ability to ETL data into your BI and your AI solutions easily. So I know that it's a little bit late in the day. I believe it'll be 3 p.m. by the time you're watching this. So thanks for making us your stop on your calendar, and I hope to reveal some good stuff about making data and integration easy. So the fundamental truth of data is everyone wants to work with the data once it's in the solution to which it's going, but how do we get the data there? You've got a multitude of options there. There's tools like SSIS, there's tools like TIBCO, Scribe, there's Alteryx, Pentaho. There's a lot of solutions that look at exposing data to BI and AI plays. We live in a data-hungry world, so fundamentally our businesses nowadays are predominantly driven by data. If we don't have the data that is happening operationally in our business, and we don't have that at hand, it becomes very difficult to run a business that doesn't have that data. So we are very much a background player in the topic of this entire expo. But fundamentally what we do is we allow you to get to data easily and at a reasonable price. So in this data hungry world, what we're doing is we're feeding that data through to the AI and the BI solutions, and we're also looking at integration of data between those solutions. The world that we live in is only set to get even more hungry. We all know that the amount of data is growing exponentially by petabytes very regularly. So we're set to need to feed databases and data solutions like AI solutions with even more and more data, and be selective about how we feed that data to those solutions, how we transform and ETL that data up into those solutions. So a bit of a buzzword is democratization of data. Not a big fan of buzzwords, but fundamentally democratization of data is making data accessible to everyone, as opposed to making it the realm of development and being able to access that data easily for the role in which I'm in the business. So if I'm in sales, I get to see my sales traction and get to see my sales and whether I'm hitting targets. If I'm in operations, I get to see my operational efficiency. So it's democratizing that data and pushing the right data to the right person at the right time. And fundamentally, a building block of AI is obviously getting that data through to those platforms so that we can get through that data to the correct person. At the moment, it's very often very resource intensive and costly. So there's two drivers for that. There's the cost. It involves a lot of people time, so it means that pushes up the cost to go and roll out an AI strategy. It pushes up the time that a customer has to wait to go and get that data out of the solution, get it transformed, and get it into the right endpoints. And because it's resource intensive and costly, it often becomes a big hurdle for getting to that endpoint of having your AI strategy in place, because getting the data to that AI engine becomes a heartache, basically. So one of our company mottos is progress now. So it's the ability to progress quickly and to move on with your data and integration at a rapid pace. So we are an ETL and integration solution. So what we do is we make that ETL and integration and hybridize that into a single solution. So we talk about beyond iPaaS, and then we kind of coined a phrase, which is integration. That might fly, it might not fly. We'll see how that goes in marketing. But the idea behind that is that we've combined the two solutions that we need in this world, which is as we move into a disseminated system environment, and we have solutions that are cloud-based, that are hybrid cloud-based, that are on-prem, how do we go from a database to an AI solution, as well as from a hybrid cloud solution to our AI solution? And then how do we go from cloud to our AI solution? And we'll talk about examples of that in a couple of minutes. So what Synatic is focusing on is the capability to go and fetch those different bits of data from any system, to either virtualize it or to bring the data across physically and move it into that artificial intelligence solution. So especially in the large corporate space, we find that that a lot of players are coming to start eating the lunch of your enterprise players, and no one ever goes from point A to point B, which is a magnificent leap of point A being I haven't innovated at all, and point B is I've got this magnificent innovation. Innovation by nature is a journey, not necessarily a destination, and it's hardly ever actually a destination. And when we do treat it as a destination, ultimately that's usually where somebody comes along to eat our lunch and to re-innovate on the solution that an enterprise may have delivered, and then we end up losing our competitive edge. So where we play in this progress now space is the ability to continually deliver incremental change, and that's how you get from point A to point B in the space and this journey of moving to AI integration and thus innovation. It's that step-by-step trudging along the path of that journey to deliver those little bits and deliver that compound interest that then delivers a greater outcome for that investment in the end. So especially in the financial services space, but I suppose through any space at the moment, there's just a lot of startups coming in that are moving very quickly to kind of consume that space of innovation. And not to say that we're a enterprise solution. We work right from small organizations up to enterprise, so we play the whole board. But ultimately, where we're sitting there is saying that we're a tool to go and deliver that innovation. So especially for enterprises that find themselves stuck in this rut of 6-month integration life cycles and 6-month data delivery life cycles. The issue with that is that fundamentally it's the same as the previous point, is it's that compound interest of that step by step by step. And what ends up happening is we sit in the space where we deliver a project over a period of 6 months. And then all of a sudden, when we do actually deliver the project, the business requirements have changed. So now what we're doing is we're trying to play catch up still by the time we've got 6 months down the road. So, you take a simple example of introducing an AI play that will allow me to pick up fraud transactions. So, I mean, that's a common usage of AI. If I have to wait 6 months to start delivering that fraud transaction AI, how much have I lost in that period of 6 months? And how much has the loss of not taking that stepwise transformation and that stepwise compound interest, that's lost me so much space of A, securing more business, and B, being able to innovate, and then take the next step beyond that and go and say, well, it's taken us 2-3 weeks, maybe a month, to deliver this first tranche of work. We've delivered that, and then we move to the next step from there. So that progress now is a real core of our business, is that ability to take the step change now. Don't wait 6 months. Don't spend the long meetings with traditional ESB solutions that ultimately actually just take as much time to very often roll out that data movement. And we encourage businesses who engage with us to to integrate your data now, to talk about moving your data now. There's no time like the present when it comes to that. And critically, what we do as well with that strategy is we reduce that delivery time and we reduce costs by up to 80%. So as per that previous slide, delivery times and costs are a big hindrance to actually fundamentally moving data around the organization, especially when we're talking about large volumes of data, and especially when we're talking about multiple sources of data and consolidating that and bringing it back together. And the further benefit of utilizing a platform like Synatic is that we then allow you to increase your staff's focus on your core systems. So as opposed to having to worry about your data and your integration, we then allow you to focus your time and efforts on your actual core systems and progressing the core business. So these are the three tenets of Synatic. It's nimble, simple, powerful. Nimble, rapid time to business value, reduced implementation times. It's about that iteration, that compound interest. Simple is solving that complex data challenge. What we do there is we focus a lot of energy and effort on simplifying our user interface so that it doesn't require developers to necessarily use the system to get access to data. We actually simplify that data interface and that user interface such that technical architects and technically minded users can actually go and start working with data, moving it between solutions, understanding what that transformation of the data looks like, and then also understanding how to terminate that data in our destination. And then powerful, we don't compromise at all on the enterprise features. So there's scalability, reliability. We can transact right up to roughly about 10,000 records per second and all the way down to 1 record per second, obviously. And then what we do as well is we, in that space of integration as well as ETL of data, we look at moving either 1 record 1,000,000 times. So that's more towards the integration side of things where it's transactional information. And then what we also do is we look at moving 1,000,000 records at once. So bulking that data up and moving it across into wherever we need to destination that data. And that's typically where we're playing in the space of ETL and providing data to the AI engine. Okay, so what I did is I took a couple of challenges in the insurance space. It's a space that most people are familiar with. So it's not to say that we're unique or focused on the FSP space and the insurance space. It's just one of our focuses, and pretty much everyone has insurance, so they understand that frustrating phone call and that ability to go and get consolidated information back from the insurance agency, and how do we interact with them and how do we automate that data. So most of us have been on the receiving end of that, and many folk here will have consulted to or will have worked in insurance organizations. So what we deal with in this insurance challenge space is we've got many systems. We've got API-based systems. We've got ODBC-based systems, or systems that we need to go and fetch data out of an API endpoint, systems that we need to go and fetch data directly from the database. We need to transform that data, and we need to consolidate that system consolidate that data. And very often we're looking at this best of breed solution stack. Especially in the insurance space, it's very irregular that there will be one entire system that covers the whole suite of what we work on, so, or what our needs are at least. So very often we've got CRM, policy management system, ERP, call center management system, and then we need to go and figure out how we're engaging with the customer. So is there a WhatsApp automated platform where a end client can WhatsApp in and say status of case number 1, 2, 3, 4. So that sort of solution stack starts coming into it. So in the insurance challenge space is how do we personalize that service? So you know, the ideas around artificial intelligence there is to go and start looking at how we link up our lead generation solution and our CRM and our ERP to go and automatically pull that data together from our AI solution and then go and push the appropriate actions out, both internally to staff members who need to follow up with customers, as well as externally to directly to customers, if we can automate it to that point. So the idea, the AI journey starts with those kind of topics of personalizing that service. We can then bring our CRM, ERP, and policy management solution together, and we can go and start taking the pieces of data that we need to out of each of these solutions. And that's fundamentally what Synatic starts supporting. It's all of this gap that sits in between these different systems. So, very often we're doing a lot of manual work around what happens between these solutions to get that data consolidated. So ultimately, Synatic is the glue that brings all of those pieces of data together. Simplifying service choices. So again, it's that same concept. Why not bring AI to that simplification of service choices? If we have taken the customer through a lead generation process, and we've then gone and curated that customer in a CRM, and we've gone and taken that customer through a policy choice process in our policy management system, we know a lot about that customer now. So we've got a ton of data sitting in multiple endpoints and multiple systems that we can now piece together around that single customer, bring that knowledge set together and start saying, well, hang on a sec, I can see that you've got a life insurance policy and you've got short-term insurance policy. So you've got a suite of these two solutions. What about this next insurance policy that we can automatically go and start recommending? And then we can go and start remarketing to that customer on the basis of that data that's coming back from AI. So we go and pick up that remarketing information, push it back into our curation process of that customer, and start marketing to them on the basis of what data we have on them and what we know about them. The killer in this space, and the killer to AI per se, really is manual processing. So whenever you look at manual processing, you're dealing with a lot of legwork around getting data into systems. You're dealing with a ton of Excel. And my next point here, I've got Excel, and a lot of big businesses and enterprise businesses, and right through to small businesses, they'll be taking data out of their systems, putting it into Excel, and then trying to force that jigsaw back together. And it's like taking two different puzzle pieces and trying to fit them back together again. It very irregularly works sweetly, and it very irregularly has the outcomes that we want. So the entire theory of what we do in the AI space is this consolidation space, this gap between these various systems we've got that then allows us to go and pull that data together again. And even things like risk factors, like I'm insured with Santam, and it's a classic example of a little bit of AI. So there's a weather service, and I've actually got that on the next slide, AccuWeather. We can hook up to the weather service API. We can go and pull down a notification of when we expect a hailstorm. What the system then does on the back end is it hooks up the fact that there's a hailstorm coming, where that hailstorm is likely to hit. It then hooks up the fact that I live in Johannesburg, and then it brings together those two sets of data and goes and pushes a notification to me by SMS to say, hey, Jamie, you need to move your car under cover. You've got a potential hailstorm heading your direction, which is a really cool utilization in that space. And all of that, bringing that data together, is fundamentally what Synatic is looking at positioning there is AI enablement. And a lot of the time we look at the space of, OCR in terms of bringing in a supplier invoice, and that's part and parcel of data you need to move into your system. We look at the RPA space. There's definitely space for OCR and RPA. I'm not going to knock them. I'm not going to say out and out that we're better than, or it's either or whatever it may be. but almost always there's a space for just true, good, solid API to API or API to ODBC integration. And if that's done sweetly and smoothly, the concept of utilizing a pricey, sometimes pricey, so again, don't want to sound like I'm knocking RPA, but sometimes pricey RPA engines, it can fall away, and or you can reduce the utilization of an RPA to where it's truly pertinent and where you do need to utilize it. So fundamentally, if we allow these systems to talk to each other, we allow that automation of data to move, and we allow that API enablement, sorry, that AI enablement, my bad, and then analytics as well. So this is just a quick diagram of a sort of concept of what a system layout may look like for an insurance business. So we've got HubSpot doing our lead gen, connecting up to our Facebook and our Twitter and our LinkedIn sites, and it's going and curating that contact or that lead into a qualified marketing opportunity. And then we're going to shift that HubSpot lead out into Salesforce. We're going to go through the Salesforce process and integrate through the policies that we have available from Guidewire, which is just a policy management solution, a very good policy management solution, rather, I shouldn't say just. And we move those policies up into Salesforce. Our sales staff can then go and make quotes and publish quotes through Salesforce, push that live customer once it's signed down into the ERP and create billing in the ERP. And then we can go and pull in our risk factors and push all of this data through into the AI machine learning analytics space. So consolidate all of that data. So if we go back to that example of what I was talking about with my own example of getting that SMS notification surrounding a hailstorm coming, obviously we brought in the risk factors here, AccuWeather. We've gone and brought in Jamie, who lives in Johannesburg, from Salesforce. We've put those two bits of data together, and we've automated a text message to Jamie to say, hey, dude, move your car undercover. So nice and simple. The more complex examples are where we want to get into that remarketing type concepts, or where we want to go and see, perhaps there's a risk of losing a customer. So if we know, for instance, that there's a policy management reduction a policy reduction in price from the policy management solution, and we know the space in which the earning of the customer is in, and we know that it took more than 3 months to sign the customer from HubSpot, if you go and start piecing those 3 bits of data together with an AI play, all of a sudden we can then go and say, well, if they're reducing their policy usage and they play in an LSM that's slightly lower, therefore they're probably affected by COVID negatively, and it took a long time to sign that customer, those are 3 negative indicators that we piece together, build out our AI model, and go and then develop automated intelligence from there, and go and send out notifications internally. We go and create, let's say, a task for one of our sales consultants to go and interact with that end customer and say, hey, is everything okay? Is there any plan we can make here? Maybe there's a payment holiday, different strategies. So it's really about taking these different data points, piecing it all together to allow that AI interaction, and then bringing that data back to life, and bringing that AI back to life by integrating it operationally with the system stack. So that's where we belong in this life cycle of data, is in the heartbeat of the business here, tying all the solutions together and making it a unified approach. So what I did with this example flow here, and this is really just a quick run through of the sort of stuff we can deal with and the sort of information we can start piecing together. So what I've got here is I kick off with an SFTP server call. This is pulling 3 different Excel files, and that's all in the configuration of these steps here. And what we do is we fetch from the SFTP server, and we fetch our first Excel sheet. We do some calculations on that, which is in other words, some transformations. So that's your ETL stage there. And we push that data into what we call a buffer. So what a buffer is it's an in-memory temporary storage of data, or you can persist that data. Long story short, it's instead of writing it out to another database, we store it in Synatic. That's really what it comes down to. And what we're doing is we're then going and storing in a buffer here, journal option fields. So what we then do is we go and fetch, and you'll see that these are staged. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We then go and fetch our next Excel file. What we do then is we look up the journal optional fields here against that buffer, bring some augmented data back, which is part of the ETL process, is augmenting our data set with lookups from other systems. And then what we do is we write out to an additional buffer called journal details. And then we fetch our last file here, again, do some transformations. We look up some values from journal details there, and we go and do another transformation. We group those records together, map it up, and then push it into our AI database, which is our SQL server here. So that's a nice example and a very brief example of the capability of Synatic. What we also do there is we're building in some logic around error management, which calls a secondary flow, and then that then goes and handles error management, pushes it back to the end user who's putting that data into the system, versus having to go and deal with that from a development team point of view. So what are the benefits to a play like Synatic, where we can go and start looking at a combined integration ETL framework and solution around our business? It's rapid time to value. What we need to do is enterprises and businesses, small, medium, large, all businesses need to look at how they can iterate, reinvent themselves, and move quickly. It's about that nimbleness to go and deliver solutions quickly, as opposed to taking a long time to deliver that solution. We can turn around your existing integrations quickly with Synatic. So that's a critical play, is to onboard what you've got at the moment and implement it. I love the aspect of reducing manual work. So what reducing manual work does is it gives staff the chance to think, versus staff having to do. So there's a big difference between doing and thinking. And in as much as is possible, we want to free up staff to think about what they're doing, not go and do what they're doing. So what I mean by that is innovation is created by space. So space to think, space to invent, space to reinvent, space to innovate. All of those things require headspace for us to go and conceptualize what we can do differently, what we can do better, how we can market ourselves better, how we can take additional products to market. With creating the space through integration, we can achieve that. We can do things like tracking your marketing performance accurately, getting your critical management info on time, moving that operational data between solutions easily, and consolidation. And then critically, what we're getting to there at the end of it all is the ability to support and get the data to the AI and BI platform. So the driver there is making data and integration easy, so that AI and BI can take its rightful place. And they are awesome tools and they're awesome capabilities, but fundamentally they eat data. And if they don't have data to eat, then they can't perform. So AI only succeeds when you feed it data. It is its meal. And if it doesn't have its meal, it doesn't work. So that's fundamentally where Synatic plays. If you'd like to get in touch with me, there are my details. It's 082-567-3087. And then jamie@synatic.com. I'd love to get in touch with you if you have needs around data. Please feel free to give me a shout, and I hope that you found this interesting, and I hope that whatever journey you're going on in your AI journey is a successful one. Thanks for your time. Goodbye.